Alright, just checked out of the Louisville hotel. Now we're getting ready to head over to the Muhammad Ali Center, which I just found out about. So I might skip the Louisville Slugger Factory, we'll see. And here we come into Louisville. It's a beautiful family stadium on the left. That's just one of them. There is I can't believe it's named this, the KFC Yum Stadium. Yeah. It's bad enough they put these horrible names on stadiums now, but really? The KFC Yum Stadium? Anyway, beautiful bridges going over the Ohio River. Welcome to downtown Louisville. And they even put it on the stadium. There you go, folks. The KFC Yum Center. I mean, they paid for it, but wow. There it is.
Your destination is on the right.
At the Ali Center. And this, what the hell? I mean, they're not even advertising it. What is she up there for? Why? Jennifer's Louisville. What an odd poster to do. Anyway. What a beautiful building, huh? And look at this outdoor arena area. I really like the steps like that. It's kind of cool. Very different, but reminds me of the what is it, the Brooklyn Museum? The Ali Center. First of all, wow, it's so much more than Muhammad Ali. There's tons of civil rights and Vietnam War archival footage and documentaries. There are entire wings dedicated to both. The Ali Center is presenting the same information I got a week ago at another museum when I first headed out on this trip. The Air Force Museum focuses more on, obviously, airplane technology, but also what we endured during the war in Vietnam. The Ali Center focuses more on what it cost us as nations and as human beings. The trauma from the Vietnam War transcends generations. That's why the Ali Center helps support organizations that to this day are still cleaning up the aftermath of that war. At some point, you really need to get over to the Ali Center. At the very least, you need to see the Weight of Water exhibit. I'm not going to divulge too much, but it was amazing artwork from around the world. So I'm looking at this guy from the stairs. He's turned and pointed somewhere, and I just realized he's talking to that Negro all the way over there. He's saying, "Get." If you're the type of person who enjoys all the myth and legend around secret societies and national treasure type things in America, I highly suggest you do watch this season of National Treasure, because they do follow York, Lewis, and Clark. So all of these monuments, all of this statuary, and these plaques actually show up in the show. I mean, from here, it really does look like he's saying, "Get your ass over here. Get your ass over here." Alright, this says, upon the corpse's return, York was expected to resume his old life as a slave, but the taste of equality, superiority, and even freedom he had enjoyed on the expedition had changed him. When Clark moved to St. Louis in 1808 and took York with him, York was separated from his wife. The lifelong relationship of Clark and York, albeit master and slave, ruptured at this point. After the summer of 1809, the two men were rarely together again. York was hired out in Louisville to different men, some of whom mistreated him. Eventually, William Clark granted York freedom, but it was at least 10 years after the expedition's return. York's ultimate fate is not definitively known. One ending has him returning to the Rocky Mountains, where he lived as a respected chief among the Crow Indians. That sounds nice. The most likely ending, as reported by Clark, has York getting his freedom and dying of cholera in Tennessee sometime before 1832, a broken man trying to return to his former master. Yeah, I bet that was his version of the story. Wow. Whether York returned to the West that he had explored or was consigned to an unmarked pauper's grave may never be known, but this is known. York made an important contribution to the greatest exploring venture in American history. Yeah, we just don't tell people about it, apparently, in school. Anyway, Louisville is proud to honor this famous explorer, this famous Louisvillian, this famous African-American, this famous American. Never heard about this guy once, and didn't see him on a single sign on the historical trail leading here. I had the chance to go to the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience, which is great because Evan Williams is one of my favorite bourbons. George Harrison, bourbon educator, is one of the driving forces bringing Tom Bullock's legacy to life with the new Ideal Bartender Experience, which honors the Louisville-born trailblazer. Tom Bullock was the first African-American to write and publish his own cocktail book, The Ideal Bartender, and he had a lasting effect on the entire cocktail industry, the Old Fashioned being one of his creations. I suggest that if you're in the Louisville area, you take the time to take this tour, specifically the Ideal Bartender Experience. You get a tasting and It's all presented by an actor, it's reasonably priced, and you get a chance to have an intimate experience with a couple people in this private bar with an actor engaging with you, telling jokes, and you should just support the local arts within Louisville. Well, I came to Market Street to grab candy from the kids at an old candy shop, but instead I found this over here and back here. Hey. What is wrong with this town? Everywhere I go, stuff is closed. Definitely the part of town I ended up in was the gay part of town. I don't know how. I just turned a corner and all of a sudden it was rainbows and Black Lives Matter posters. I saw 4 different Honda Elements all within like 2 blocks, which is really funny because of a dope car. But everybody, yeah, it's like an earlier town. Everything closed at 2 or 5 or 6, that's it. But New York City, we start drinking later. People are out. It's a Thursday night and people are at the beer garden at like 5. People are out at outdoor seated areas tossing them back. Whereas right now, bridge and tunnel people in New York are drinking, but also there's that like 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock wave of drinking. I'd come back. I'd pay another visit here. Either way, we're leaving. Pulled off the highway in Kentucky. I'm about 10 miles from Ashland. Flew through Lexington pretty easily. My phone died and I plugged it in, but I'm not joking, it took 3 hours to get to 19%. So that was navigating with no GPS, no nothing. Had to use the radio. We were listening to the Kentucky Derby playlist, and right when they were playing the song that spells out Kentucky, it cut off. But we did, earlier or yesterday get to listen to the Elizabethtown mix. Elizabethtown is southwest of Louisville, and it's a movie that you should watch. There's irony in how the movie did along with the actual storyline. Just crossed over into West Virginia and the giant sign said Wild and Wonderful. I have been watching Wild and Wonderful off-grid for over a year and didn't realize until just that moment that's why they chose that name, because they're in West Virginia. I just thought it was something they came up with for their YouTube channel. Check them out. Dope channel. But we are still doing Rolling Hills. West Virginia Welcome Center is 8 miles away. I think I'm just gonna, it's 10:45, I'm just gonna drive at least another hour. I'm wide awake. Now would be a great time for me to wax poetic about Elizabethtown, which we drove through at the beginning of the day into Louisville. About 12 years ago, I think I watched this movie, and around the same time, I got my subscription to Spotify. Okay, because I had this soundtrack on my Spotify from the very beginning, it's always been a song I've gone to when I go on road trips. So let me tell you a little bit about the movie. Probably the worst accent I've ever heard come out of Orlando Bloom. There's 9 different Elizabethtowns in the eastern region of the U.S. In addition to that, it also spawned a lot of tropes in film and television. It received mostly negative reviews, one of the lowest scores on Rotten Tomatoes around that time. But here's where it gets interesting. The term Manic Pixie Dream Girl came out of this movie because the AV Club coined the term when they were talking about one of the lead characters. On top of that, another term that came out of this movie where I don't think it was the very first time it was used, but it was a huge deal that this was a meet cute, and it became the theme of romantic rom-coms for the next decade. And another little known fact is that Roger Ebert actually supported the movie. He liked it, and he later went on to his own website to say that he thinks the theory of the entire movie is that the main character is really an angel and she's come to Earth to heal this family or whatever. You decide. Anyway, I will say that I think what gets lost in this film is that it's a journey away or towards something, kind of, as he points out, Roger Ebert that is, but what people do not fully realize is there's like a metaphorical cleansing of a road trip. I think this movie is about the road trip. It is about the healing of the family and all that, but they do it as a journey together. The spiritual power of the mixtape, prior to the evolution of the playlist, of course, but the mixtape, someone had to make you a mixtape, and the effort that goes into it, the explanation of the choices, and the words of the songs are all part of the story and the journey that someone wants to give you. The movie Elizabethtown is a journey through Middle America, back to the heartland. I mentioned that earlier in some of my other episodes. The radio in the Midwest is nothing but the 3 C's: country, classic rock, and conservative Christian talk. This playlist is the soul of Middle America. It's none of that. It's songs you heard in your childhood. It's songs you heard at a gas station. It's stuff that gets forgotten, and it brings us back there when you pop that tape in and you hit the road. When it comes to road trips, for me, all things lead to Elizabethtown.
Stop cursing.